All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praise, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harakah Kodash. Double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere Shalom to Yakim, bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. And we come in the names of Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai. Yahweh is who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai is who the world ignorantly calls the Messiah. In their Hebrew names, man, their proper names, right? Yahweh meaning he is, and Yahweh Shai meaning he is the deliverer. And to save who? The remnant of his people, which consists of 144,000, 12,000 out of each of the 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, and the great multitude, which is the 1/3, which consists of men, women, and children, right? So as you see the title of this lesson, the pride of Tubal Cain, right, which we understand it stems from Cain, the brother of Abel. So let's start off within the book of Genesis 4, because and Lord will, I'll be tying this into prophecy to see, so you can see how Esau, this same pride is upon him today, man, knowing that, you know, going back from the garden, the spirit of that serpent in the garden is the same spirit, which was in Cain, which is the same spirit, which is today in the son of perdition, Esau, Edom, man, right? The physical counterpart of the spiritual demon Satan. And ultimately, Yahweh Shemel Shai gave him this appointed time to rule, and for us to be in this captivity under him, and ultimately for Yahweh Shai to overthrow this place with great violence, and ultimately the kingdom of the nation of Israel to be established upon earth as it is in heaven. All right, so starting off in the book of Genesis, the 4th chapter, and I'll start at the top, and it reads, and Adam knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bare Cain, and said, I have gotten a man from the Lord. So let's go into the name Cain, man, right? Quayan, H7014, right? And it says, possession, the eldest son of Adam and Eve, and the first murderer, having murdered his brother Abel, right? Right? Having murdered his brother Abel. Let's see, going to some root words, right? Here we go. The root word is a quayan, which is spear, right? It says a lance of striking fast. And it's going to be very important, man, right? Because we understand Esau, his blessing was what? Hey, he got forth the fatness of the earth, but it said, and by thy sword shalt thou live, right? This H7069. That was the point. Like it. It says Genesis 4:2. It says, and she again bare his brother Abel, and Abel was a keeper of the sheep, but Cain was a tiller of the ground. And in the process of time, it came to pass that Cain brought of the fruit of the ground an offering unto the Lord. Right? And we understand that the people upon the earth, the sons of God, knew that the offerings to be doing to the Lord Yahweh were to be animal sacrifices. Right? And Cain knew of this as well, because Abel brought what? Verse 4, it says, and Abel, he also brought of the firstlings of his flock and of the fat thereof. And the Lord had respect unto Abel and to his offering. But unto Cain and to his offering he had not respect. And Cain was very wroth, and his countenance fell. Right? So he knew to do right and did wrong anyways, right? And this is the same sentiment for Esau Edom. He knows what righteousness, he knows what righteousness is, but him being a wicked man, he's just built to be the adversary, man, right? If he does good, he do it unwillingly, as the scripture tells us, man, right? So Cain's sacrifice wasn't acceptable in the eyes of Yahweh Bashim Shai, but Abel's was, right? Verse 6, it says, and the Lord Yahweh said unto Cain, why art thou wroth, and why is thy countenance fallen? If thou doest well, shall thou not be accepted? Right. So he knew to do well and didn't. It says, and if thou doest not well, sin lieth at the door, and unto thee shall be his desire, and thou shalt rule over him. And Cain talked with Abel his brother, and it came to pass when they were in the field that Cain rose up against Abel his brother and slew him. And the Lord said unto Cain, where is Abel thy brother? And he said, I know not, my brother's keeper. And that response in itself, man, asking the Lord, is he his brother's keeper? And also saying he don't know where Abel was, shows you the sentiment of how Esau looks at the Most High today, man. Right? When we go into the book of Second Thessalonians, and it speaks about who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, right? He sitteth in the seat, right? As if he's a power, right? To show himself that he is a God, right? This is the same sentiment, the same spirit that Esau comes in, right? Basically trying to question the Most High, saying that he can create creation better than the Lord, right? When the Elohim said it was good, Esau today is saying, hey, it wasn't good enough. I now have a new technological renaissance in which I can make man better than creation. I can build upon the blueprint of what the Lord made, and allow creation to become better. You know, I can give them power through technology. I can insert my device within them, you know, and make them super creation, so to speak. Right? Verse 10, it says, and he said, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground, and now art thou cursed from the earth. Let's go into this word cursed. 8779. It says curse. It says it says to curse. To lay under curse, to put a curse on, to be cursed, to abhor, to detest. Let's see if there's any more. Yep, that was the point. It says, and thou art thou cursed from the earth, which hath opened her mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand. When thou tillest the ground, it shall not henceforth yield unto thee her strength. A fugitive and vagabond shall thou be in the earth. So let's go into these words, fugitive and vagabond, man. So it says a fugitive, H5128. It says Noah. It says a vagabond, to be tossed about or around. It says to wander, a fugitive, to move, to wander. It says to wag. 1 second. Right, a vagabond. It says a person who wanders from place to place without home or job, having no settled home. Right, and this is Esau, man. Right, because what did he do? He went from place to place to conquer, place to place to destroy, and set up, you know, landmarks. For example, when he came over to the Americas, he basically told Gad and Reuben, hey, well, although y'all living here, you know, although y'all have been living here, you know, I'm going to take over this land, you know, and I'm going to put taxes and set forth different decrees to where you owe me for living here. Right. So it says a fugitive and a vagabond is he, man. Matter of fact, to go back here, because I want to go into that word vagabond now. That was for fugitive, Salaki. Fugitive. A person who has escaped from a place or is in hiding, especially to avoid arrest or persecution. And ultimately one that is guilty, man. Right? Those literally running away or intending flight, being applied to that which is elusive or short duration. Right? A runaway. So when we go back into Genesis, it says a fugitive and a vagabond shall thou be in the earth. Right? Esau doesn't keep at home, right? As the scripture says in the book of Habakkuk 14 and 12, it's like 14 and 13. And Cain said unto the Lord, my punishment is greater than I can bear. Right? And he's saying this knowing that he's guilty, fully guilty of murdering his brother, right? But this punishment is just too much for him. And that's how Esau gets down, man. Right? Him being fully guilty, then receiving of his sentence and just being like, oh, I can't deal with this. As if he's not completely, as if he's not he moves as if he's innocent, knowing he's guilty, man. Right? It says, behold, thou hast driven me out this day from the face of the earth, and from thy face shall I be hid, and I shall be a fugitive and vagabond in the earth. And it shall come to pass that everyone that findeth me shall slay me. And the Lord said unto him, therefore whosoever slayeth Cain, vengeance shall be taken on him sevenfold. And the Lord set a mark upon Cain, lest any finding him should kill him. Right? And this is how Esau moves today, man. Ultimately, we hear Trump, and these different officials talking about how nobody can come against them, how they're in an age of manifest destiny. And ultimately, it's true. Yahweh Shema Shah does have Esau on the run right now, to conquer, man. But it's ultimately for his demise, right? So I want to go down into the 22nd verse because this is a part of it. And I'm going to play a couple clips to show that sentiment of how, Trump, which is the head of this, the face, I should say, the face of the Edomites right now, right? Because the elites put him forth as the face of all things, quote unquote, American and pro Zionist. This Genesis 4 and 20. 17, 4 and 17 says, and Cain knew his wife, and she conceived and bare Enoch, and he built a city and called the name of the city after the name of his son Enoch. And unto Enoch was born Irad, and Irad begat Mahujael, and Mahujael begat Methusael, and Methusael begat Lamech. And Lamech took unto him two wives. The name of the one was Adah, and the name of the other was Zillah. And Adah bare Jabal, and he was the father of such as dwell in tents, and such as have have cattle, Salakia. And his brother's name was Jabal, he was the father of all such as handle the harp and organ. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal Cain, and that's the point, right? Tubal Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron, and the sister of Tubal Cain was Naamah, right? So when we go into the name Tubal Cain, right, H8442, 23, Salakia. Yeah, right? And it says Tubal Cain means thou will be brought of Cain. It says son of Lamech by his wife Zillah, and the first worker in metal, right? Which is weaponry. So when you take a look at Esau Edom, man, I'm gonna play these clips. So like I wasn't even sharing this tab. Damn it. When you take a look at Cain, right, and the descendants, because this through the same line, you have Lamech. You have, and I'm gonna go back to it. So like it. Right, you have 1 second. Beautiful. I want to read this too. It says, son of Lamech by his wife Zillah, and the first worker in metal, right? So he was a master in weaponry, man. And he speaks proud about how he destroys and kills, right? As our apostles say, this is the first drill rap, man. First drill rapper, because he speaks about killing a man or murdering a man. And I'm going to read it. It's Genesis 4:23. And Lamech said unto his wives, Adah and Zillah, hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech. Hearken unto my speech, for I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech 70 and sevenfold. Right. So here he is boasting of what? Of ultimately, striking down a man and killing him. When a man, quote unquote, touched him, right, and he killed him, right? Genesis 4:23. Same way that wicked ass Jacob talk about smoking on their ops, right? It says, one day Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zilhah, hear my voice. Listen to me, you wives of Lamech. I have killed a man who attacked me, a young man who wounded me. If someone who kills Cain is punished 7 times, then the one who kills me will be punished 77 times, right? And that's that pride. So I went here in Google, right? Just wanted to share this. It says the line from Lamech to Esau refers to the patrilineal ancestry in Genesis, showing Lamech, a descendant of Cain, as a very distant progenitor of humanity, with Esau being in the later lineage of Seth, Adam's sons, not Cain line, right? Illustrating a branching of humanity through violent innovation. Lamech's boast versus the line of promise, Seth leading to Noah, then Shem, Abraham, and eventually Jacob, right? The line of the promise. Says with Esau embodying patterns of polygamy and worldly focus similar to Lamech, but in a different era. Lamech was a descendant of Cain, known for his violent boast to his wives about killing a man who wounded him, promising 77-fold vengeance. His line focused on worldly achievements, metalworking, music, but also intense violence and pride, contrasting with the righteous path, right? And we understand when we go further down, Esau, the son of Isaac, grandson of Abraham, right? Says his story highlights marrying a Canaanite woman and a worldly impulsive nature, echoing the pattern seen in Lamech's descendants, though much later in history, right? Because we go from Genesis 4, ultimately Genesis, the 25th chapter, right? And you have Abraham through that, you have Lot through that portion of history, so on and so on, man. So on and so forth, I should say, right? But this is that same wicked root, man, right? From the serpent unto Cain, unto Esau Edomite. It's like unto Esau Edom to the Edomites we see today, man. Right? Now, when we take a look at what Trump is doing and how he's talking, hey, is this not the same spirit that was shown from the beginning? Right? Oh, fair use, man. Fair use. This devil, man. Right? And as the scripture speaks about, hey, the boasting of the wicked, right? A man's heart deviseth the way, but ultimately the Lord directs his steps, right? He believes that, hey, he's going to set forth, and fully, um, set forth that enterprise, right? As the scripture says, hey, but Yahweh Shema Shai is going to strike him through. Matter of fact, I want to get a precept in the book of Psalms 10 chapter. This Psalms 10, and this is the NLT. Verse 2, it says, the wicked arrogantly hunt down the poor. Let them be caught in the evil they plan for others. For they brag about their evil desires. They praise the greedy and curse the Lord. The wicked are too proud to seek Yahweh. They seem to think that the Most High is dead. Yet they succeed in everything they do. They do not see your punishment awaiting them. They sneer at all their enemies. They think nothing bad will ever happen to us. We will be free of trouble forever. Right? And this is what Cain and Tubal Cain thought. Right? Oh, whoever comes up against us, a judgment is going to be avenged on them 70 or sevenfold or 70 times 7, man. Right? So this is the same mind state, man. That's why the scripture says what it says here in the book of Obadiah. Verse 3, Said that the pride of thine heart have deceived thee, thou that dwellest in the clefts of the rock, whose habitation is high, that saith in his heart, who shall bring me down to the ground? Right? He really thinks that he's untouchable, man. He thinks that nobody can touch him, man. He thinks that, oh, well, he's going to continue and how things are, he's going to become the superpower upon the earth. He's going to obtain artificial immortality. He's going to bring the population down to 500 million, so forth and so on. He really believes in his heart, or the elites really believe in their heart, that all of that is going to be accomplished, man. They believe that. I want to grab this one here. He said, do you see any checks on your power on the world stage? Is there anything that could stop you if you wanted to? He said, yeah, there's one thing, my own morality, my own mind. Right? This is what he said. That's the only thing that can stop him, his own mind. Not the most high, not his son Yahweh Shai, but only he can stop himself. Right? Showing you who the wicked is, man. It's 2 Thessalonians 2:3. It says, let no man deceive you by any means, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. And when you go into that word perdition, G684, apolia, it says of utter destruction, of perishing, of ruin, right? The pernicious ways, or the damnable nation, right? The son of destruction, right? So when we go back, verse 4 says, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worshipped, so that he as a power sitteth in the temple of the Most High, showing himself that he is a God, right? And that's that God complex that Esau has. Going back to Cain and Tubal Cain feeling as if they're untouchable. He feels that same way, man. He's come this far, made it out of the dark ages, right? Ultimately got back into power after that 1,000 years, right after that season. The Lord allowed him to come back, the chains to be loosed. Hey, now you have the red horse taking peace from the earth, man. Telling people, hey, if you're not on our side, or if you aren't willing to give up the resources, we just gonna take them. Venezuela, it happened in hours. Cuba, you're next, right? They got a hit list and saying, oh, if you think you can touch me, watch what happens, man. Hence, when we go into the book of Jeremiah, the 50th chapter. Oops. This is Jeremiah 50:23. It says, how is the hammer of the whole earth cut asunder and broken? How has Babylon become a desolation among the nations, right? He has been that hammer, man, right? Basically being the enforcer upon the earth due to their military might and strength, right? That's why the scripture tells you, hey, that all ye that been in both shall shoot at her and spare no arrows, because they're all going to come up against this whore. They're all going to come up against Esau, Edom, man, because all the nations are tired of it, right? For the longest, the Lord has ultimately, allowed Esau to get off the hook in terms of, control, in terms of covet fields taken by violence, as the scripture says in Micah, the 2nd chapter, right? In Habakkuk 2, that established a town by blood and established a city by iniquity, paraphrasing. But his time is coming, man. But it's going to take Yahweh Shai to do it. It's going to take that stone cut out with hands to be thrown at the image at that feet, right? That's who's actually going to avenge, judgment upon this nation, man. And he's going to do it by putting forth the indignation or his spirit into the thermonuclear missiles. But Yahweh Shai is also going to be returning with the host of heaven and put it in and work that way as well, man. Hence Isaiah the 63rd chapter. But that was the point, the lesson. To not go too lengthy, but to get the meat off the bones. Lord willing, it was edifying. I want to give all praises, glory, and honor unto Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Harakah Kodash, and double honors unto the apostles and elders of GMS Great Millstone, and a sincere shalom to Yakim bringing out this word in diligence and in truth. Shalom.